So I just finished watching the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, and here's what I thought of it. So I never grew up with Lord of the Rings. I know I didn't grow up with Star Wars. I didn't grow up with Lord of the Rings. I didn't grow up with a lot of things. But I didn't grow up with Lord of the Rings. I grew up with Narnia. And Narnia was my introduction to just fantasy in general, the fantasy world, the fantasy universe, that kind of thing. And Lord of the Rings kind of took that awesomeness that I loved in Narnia, and it took that feel of fantasy, and it cranked it up to 100. It really did take a fantasy world, and it did so much with it. Now, I remember I was watching The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly a while ago for another video, and some people were saying that, like, oh, 3-hour movies are way too long, and I'll admit there are some movies that are way too long, but this, the Lord of the Rings franchise, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, I think that the Lord of the Rings trilogy is a good example of that being okay. I really do think that, like, cause I was watching John Wick 4 a while ago. John Wick 4, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and the Lord of the Rings trilogy, those are like 3-hour epics. You know what an epic is? That, honestly, epic is the perfect word to describe Lord of the Rings. An epic is an epic story, an epic tale, and I do see those movies as epics. That's what they are. Instead of just watching an hour of walking, talking, action, no, I'm watching 3 hours of cinema. I'm watching amazing movies, and it's just the best that they had to offer, and I loved it. That's really what those films were. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, John Wick 4, and the Return of the King, and the rest of the Lord of the Rings movies. That's what those are. They are epic stories that really do feel like epic tales, It's like 3 hours of just pure cinema, storytelling, everything. It's just all done to a T. Now, there are some things in Lord of the Rings. I do love Lord of the Rings, by the way. I love it. I'm really glad that I checked it out. Awesome movies. Great movies. I think that there were a few things that I did not like, though. There were some things that I think could have been done way better. So, one, there's this weird subplot with Arwen's life force being tied to the ring. I didn't fully understand that. It really was not explained very well, and I was kind of like, when did that happen? There were also some flashbacks with Arwen, and I didn't really understand. I feel like there were flashbacks, but they didn't explain as much as I needed them to. I was just kind of like, wait, when did that happen? When does this take place? And some of it just got a little confusing. The ring wraiths kind of disappear for a little while, and then they show up again in, like, the other movies. It's a little weird. They also don't really explain what happened to them. They don't really explain what happened to them. There's a scene where, like, Arwen, I don't know, she, like, defeats them all, but there's no explanation as to what happens to the ring wraiths, Then also, this is my biggest, like, problem with Lord of the Rings, but it really is, it's a big problem, but, like, it doesn't ruin the film for me. Saruman, for me at least, was the best character, or at least the best villain in Lord of the Rings. Like, Sauron, in my opinion, was never really that cool. He's this giant, like, fire eyeball. Now, it's okay if you want him to just be, like, evil incarnate or something. But for me, Saruman was, like, the real villain, That's how I felt about Saruman. Saruman, played by Christopher Lee, who's an amazing actor, rest in peace. He did an amazing job playing Saruman. And I thought that he, just, in my opinion, was like the real villain. I thought he was like evil. I thought he was awesome. I thought he was really cool and everything like that. But he was like everything that Sauron wasn't for me. And I felt like Saruman should have been focused on a little more. Now, I'm not sure if like the books or like something like that, the books didn't have this or the books don't say this, and maybe if it falls a little out of line with the book. But I think Saruman should have been in the final battle. Now, Saruman had a death scene, right? Saruman in the theatrical cut, Saruman's death scene was cut out entirely. And I think it should have been left in because I thought it was a very important scene to include because it really wraps up Saruman's story. But I feel like they should have, they had to cut it out for like the length of the movie. But I think they should have cut down on some of the other scenes because in my opinion, some of the other scenes didn't need to be there, or some of the other scenes could have been trimmed. I feel like they could have cut corners somewhere else, if that makes sense. I feel like Saruman's death was just way too important to leave out. And, like, even Saruman's death, I just thought it wasn't, like, satisfying. It goes by really quickly. It feels, like, really rushed, or, like, a quick way to finish him off and, like, get him over with. I feel like his character deserved a little more justice than that. But why do I think Saruman should be in the final battle? Here's why. Saruman, again, for me, is the best villain, and I feel like he should have been the main villain. But I understand why it's Sauron. I think he should have been in the final battle. He should have survived till the end. And I think if when Frodo and Sam are on their way to the volcano to destroy the ring, I think Saruman should have gone over to try and kill them. But Gandalf Gandalf abandons the army and fights Saruman. So you have Saruman and Gandalf fighting. Then you also have the army. The two armies fighting. Then you also have Frodo and Sam trying to get to the volcano. It would have been epic to see something like that. That's really how I feel like it should have ended for Saruman. Something like that would have been so much cooler. And I think it would have, like, really brought justice to the character. Again, I do love Lord of the Rings a lot, and I think these are solid films. That's just the only thing that I said, man, that needs some fixing. That was kind of bad. But again, I do love the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It is an epic story, a 3-part, 3-hour, more than 3 hours, but each movie is like 3 hours long, epic story. And I love the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I'm really happy that I checked it out. What is y'all's favorite Lord of the Rings movie? My favorite is Fellowship of the Ring. It just felt like the humble beginnings of the Lord of the Rings story. It like to the Two Towers and Return of the King were really long. They got kind of confusing. I really did like Fellowship more because it really was the humble beginnings of this epic Lord of the Rings story, you know? It was kind of setting up everything, and I like that a little bit more. But what do y'all think of Lord of the Rings? Do y'all like Lord of the Rings? Have you seen it? Are you like a longtime fan? I like to get the perspective of a longtime fan of Lord of the Rings. I've only been one for maybe half a year at this point. So I'd like to get your opinion. Why do you like Lord of the Rings? Do you love it? Have you seen it? I'd love to know in the comments. Sorry if my voice sounds a little different. I was sick for the past week, and I think it's over. I think it's gone, but maybe not. Thank you all so much for watching. God bless you guys. If you want to see more videos, please make sure to like and subscribe. God bless you guys. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all next time.